on this computer. Okay, Swamiji.
Okay. Okay. My namaskar to everybody. Namaste to everybody.
Yes.
Welcome to our Tuesday, every Tuesday regular the philosophy class. And as you know that last maybe a year time now that we have been going through the new scripture based in the line of bhakti or devotion, which is known as Narada Bhakti Sutra. And we are very advanced stage now because we went through a couple of chapters and we saw that what is true bhakti is. And we did explanation and discussion on this topic elaborately and brought many examples from the other religious text. And bit by bit, we are coming to a conclusion of this entire the Bhakti Sutra book. I think, let me see how many weeks it can go anymore. But before we go to our scripture, as we do every Tuesday, we close our eyes and we recite 3 times Om. Why we do that? Because you know that any prayers and any hymns or prayers we recite, especially in the Hindu way of life, we always recite Om first. So that is why that Om also is the a kind of combination of the creation, preservation, and taking it back whatever was created. And Om, a lot of people they just meditate on Om and find out the highest kind of peace in life. So Om is the symbol of God, in fact, and especially in the Bharat Sevashram Sangh in our organization, and our Guruji Swami Pranava Acharya Swami Pranavananda Ji Maharaj. At the beginning of his life, we see at the altar where he used to do meditation, there used to be the framed Om picture there. And in the Shiva Mahapuran, there is a detailed description of the significance and meaning of Om. And it is being widely chanted all over the world, especially at the beginning of the yoga class.
Use this.
So let us join the recitation of 3 times Om. We close our eyes. We meditate on that merciful Lord, the lotus feet of the Lord. We focus our mind at that, the source of joy, the Om, the shining, brilliant, very pure personification of the God, Om. And we breathe deep, breathe in, and we recite Relax, please. Second time we do. Please take deep breath in. We'll be reciting 1 time more. Once again, take deep breath. We take deep in. Thank you for joining me in recitation of Om 3 times. And you do the Guru Pranam first before you go to the main book. Om Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Bhagavatim Saraswatim Chaiva Tato Jayo Mudirayet Vyasaya Vishnurupaya Vyasurupaya Vishnave Namo Vai Brahma Vidhaya Vasishtaya Namaha Namaha Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badurayanam Sutra Bhashya Krito Vande Bhagavanto Punaha Punaha Sada Shiva Samarambha Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmat Acharya Paryantyam Vande Guru Paramparam Vande Guru Paramparam Vande Guru Paramparam Om Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Om Namo Sri Bhagavate Pranavanandaya Namo Namaha. Thank you. We go to the main book now, Narad Bhakti Sutra. If you remember, we recited last week the sutra. It was in the sutra number 60, Shanti Rupat Paramananda Rupatcha. That devotion, that bhakti is actually, it is the nature of peace and supreme happiness. That was we already discussed in the last sitting. Today, there will be a kind of one of the sutra I'm reading. So please do not take it in a, you might feel initially a little contradictory, but as we move forward, and then easily, bit by bit, it will be clear properly. So this is the sutra number 63 of Narad Bhakti Sutra. It's talking about of a devotee who completely surrender at the feet of the Lord, who make unbroken relationship with Bhagavan, with the Lord, who feel that separation from the Lord is like kind of death in life. It is about a devotee who think his only friendship, which will remain till the beyond the life, this life beyond the life. So these verse also related to those devotees also, is also for us. So I recite Stri Dhana Nastika Vairi Charitram Na Sravanyam. Saint Narad tells a true bhakta, Stri Dhana Nastika Vairi Charitram Na Sravanyam. The meaning of this Sanskrit sutram is like this: stories or description of women, wealth, atheists who do not believe in God, or enemy should not be listened to. So I read again: stories or description of women, wealth, atheist or enemy should not be listened to. So first word is that a devotee should not listen the physical description of a woman. we have to keep in mind that Saint Nar is like a men, women, both sides, vice versa. A male devotee should not listen and read the physical beauty or the description of a woman. Similarly, a female devotee should not listen the same kind of word. So before I go details of this word, I just want to tell you something. I was looking at this this morning in the Yajurveda. Let me read it for you. Now I was going through a couple of books, and Yajurveda, one of the most ancient Vedas, writing about our women. Women is our mother, our wife, our sister, our friend, our daughter, and many other things. They play those roles at our home. So Yajurveda, the ancient rishis writing about the women. What they writing? Ide. This is the Yajurveda. The sloka number or verse number is 43. I'm quoting this verse from Yajurveda, verse number 43. Rishis, ancient saint writing about our women. What they writing? Ide, Ratne, Habbe, Kamme, Chandre, Jyoti Dite, Saraswati, Mohi, Vishruti, Etate, Andhane Namani, Devebhyoma, Sukritam Brutat. This is Yajurveda. The meaning of this sloka of the Yajurveda is praiseworthy, delightful, worshipful, lovable, pleasure-giving, well-known for good behavior, inviolable, full of knowledge, adorable, knower of the Vedas, worthy of respect. These are thy qualities. Please teach us that good lessons to acquiring noble qualities. So rishis of the ancient rishis praying to our women this way. In this verse, 11 names of a women have been given here, like Ida, Ratna, Habya, Kamya, Chandra, Jyoti, Aditi, Saraswati, Mahi, Vishruti, and Aghanya. This 12 name was given. So you could see the deepest respect of the ancient rishis. And not only that, could imagine at those days, very old days, at the northern part of India, there at the bank of the Saraswati River, there used to be lots of monasteries, rishis and munis. They used to practice meditation, yoga. They used to create new the books, write the sacred text for the future generation. And they imagine there used to be lots of white lilies and swans used to play in the river Saraswati. So they imagine a Devi, a goddess, white, like pure milk-like of color, a white sari, a white swan, and a bina, one of the old musical instrument in her hand. She is our goddess Saraswati, the goddess of learning, Brahma Vidya Swarupini. And if you remember last week also I mentioned, every morning I come to temple, I go to in front of Mother Saraswati, Goddess Saraswati Murti, Mother Saraswati image, and I pray, Ma, with your all Shakti Guna, good qualities, noble qualities, with your Brahma Vidya, music, knowledge, whatsoever, please dwell at the heart of me, so I could, whenever I close my eyes, I could see that you're dwelling at my heart. So that is it. But here we handling or dealing with the devotees. What actually happened that the books sometimes they give the description as a way, or the male or female, it can divert a devotee. Devotee is a devotee, it could be male, it could be female, anybody. So The Rishis and Munis warning not to invest time, things which is just taking away your time, just killing your time. Focus, because we're dealing with the bhakti, the highest kind of bhakti, a pure bhakti, which is directed towards the God, lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna. So here we see that things other way, and that is why rishis and munis and they warn that a female devotee should not listen too much physical description of a male devotee, or a male devotee should not listen to the physical description of a female devotee. We all understand why. We all knowledgeable, we all educated, we all literate. So we know why rishis and munis, they wrote these things from their experience of life. Because they went through these things. Like, we are not talking about our loving mother or caring sister. We are not talking about their most lovable sister in this, but we're talking the practical thing in the spiritual life. Then coming dhan. Dhan is the wealth. Bishoy, bish. Artham, anartham, artham, paramartham. Artham means dhan, wealth, is anartham, is the cause of lots of destruction in life. How? Because if you use your wealth, your fortune in destructive activities, if you use your fortune to punish other people, if we use our fortune to bring destruction to our society, our family life, our social life, our life of these people, so that artho is anartham, because I'm using that fortune to destroy people, to destroy the beauty of this planet Earth. And then Swami Pranavananda Ji Maharaj, the founder of Bharat Sevashram, he say, artham paramartham. Artham paramartham is, fortune is the most valuable thing in life. How? When that fortune is being used for the social upliftment, the needy one, the crying one, the sorrowful one, the neglected one, the fallen one, they need help from the people who build up their fortune. Like, for example, recently there was a cyclone in the eastern part of India. And it was such a kind of, couple of the district is being completely swept up. And if you see those picture, Amphan cyclone destruction, you'll be shocked. So people was donating, and people are still donating, because our organization, we have around 30 centers. A place called Sundarban, the Ban is the forest. And we have around 30 centers all around Sundarban, Gangasagar, those areas. So people was donating, so much of, I could see, like Durga Puja time, we get the phone call. Last couple of weeks, I was getting phone call, whole day phone ringing, that how they can help this kind of the Amphan cyclone relief work. Even though we all going through a kind of very fearful time, people are still afraid to come out of their home. So much destruction went on. Around more than 400,000 people died of this coronavirus, but still people were so anxious to help the cyclone. So they were and they don't know where to donate. I mean, where to send this money. So they're looking for Bharat Sevashram, because of the goodwill, I could see. This is the time people was talking of the Bharat Sevashram name. I could see the Chicago, the California, all these center people is searching where to donate. They thought that the first name came to their mind is Bharat Sevashram. They know this is the place, if we give the donation, it will be used 100% for the cause they are sending. That is Sri Guruji Swami Pranavananda Ji Maharaj founded that hundreds of years back. So that time Artha become Paramartha. It helped to uplift our soul. When you use this our fortune to help the needy people, the crying people, the fallen people. And that time our fortune become paramartham. It cleared the road for us to move forward, to uplift our own self. So that is why here the Narad say, Stri Dhana. A devotee should not listen too much of this thing because it pollutes the mind. Because you know that if you, in the Bhagavad Gita, there is something that a person who is looking to earn money, he's always thinking how to earn more, how to earn more. This is not wrong. This is not wrong, but we are dealing with the supreme devotion. We are trying to attain the most valuable thing in life. We are trying to invoke, or we are trying to invite that highest kind of devotion so that we could feel the touch of God. So this is completely different thing. That is why the Rishi Narad warned a devotee, do not listen too much of these things which will be taking your mind away from the feet of the Lord. Devotees, we do know that we need money for our survival. At this hour of great calamity in the society, everybody is worried. They might lose job. Even they might be losing their job. There so much unemployment, a whole turmoil going on all around the world, every corner of this world. Temple, church, mosque, all are suffering with people. But side by side, we should not forget that calamity comes, it goes. It takes place in the history book again. People rebuild their fortune. But then those who are living, those who are by the great fortune that we living, we still healthy, and we use our time in remembering the beauties and wonders and glories and kindness and merciful Sundar, the great God, the Lord, the lotus feet of the Lord, the flute boy of Vrindavan, Bhagavan Sri Krishna. So he is our true goal. He is our true friend. He's the only one who will be giving us true peace, nothing else. And that is why Saint Narad warning not to listen. A devotee who is looking for to achieve that goal, feel the touch of God, not to listen this thing which will be killing his time. And then we should not listen the stories or do company of the Nastika. Nastika means somebody who do not have faith, who do not believe in the existence of God at all. There are people who say, I build up my fortune by my own effort. I did not. Where is the role of God to me in my life? Whatever I earn, home, whatsoever I have, is I did. I work hard, so I earn. There's no role of God here. So they believe in a philosophy, no God and no religion. But that people reject that philosophy. If we're living in the United States of America, how people are demanding to the governor, to the local administration, please allow people to go to the church, synagogue, mosque, temple, because they want to go to the church, synagogue, the temple or mosque to pray. Because this is time we need our prayer for everybody. Sarveshang Mangalang Bhuyat. Oh Lord, let there be peace everybody in this world. Let no one suffer in this world. Let us share the joy and happiness of this world together. So the devotees are praying to the local administration to allow them to go to the church, temple, synagogue, or mosque so that they could offer their prayer at the feet of the Lord. But then, if you mix with the Nastika people, those who reject, they do not believe, they don't have no kind of respect, no love for God at all. And so it's not good for a devotee. It's not a good company, in fact. I mean, it will be polluting your mind. Your mind will be colored with the material kind of thoughts. So that is why that Narad said not to listen the character or not to do company of the Nastika. I remember one incident. It's a personal incident. When we joined the monastery, years back in 1976. So I joined with a monk who, his name was Swami Arupanandaji Maharaj. Swami Arupanandaji Maharaj. He was a senior direct disciple of Acharya Swami Pranavanandaji. And Swami Arupanandaji served Sri Sri Guruji 25 years personally. I mean, he used to cook for Guruji, he used to serve him food, he used to clean his clothes, he used to clean his dishes, he used to prepare his, he used to clean his room, he used to pick up for bathing water from the well, his village, or he used to fetch water from pond for his use. And he used to carry his stick, his trishul. So it's kind of personal attendance, Swami Urupanandaji. So I joined to him. And I remember those days he used to warn me because we were so young, just beginning, it's a kind of beginning of our spiritual life. And he told me not to mix one, two people, those who living in the monastery. Imagine everybody living in the monastery. He was the head of that monastery, that ashram. But he's telling, he don't do any discrimination. But he's telling me, do not mix with him, do not mix with the gentleman. Why? Because it's the same thing, the lack of respect and love to the feet of the Lord. So the Nastika Charitram is no good for a devotee. Or the company of the Nastika, those who do not believe in God, those who do not love Him, those who do not have faith in the existence of God. It's not a good company for a devotee who is looking to feel the touch of the God. So, Stri, Dhana, Nastika, Boiri Charitram. Charitram is the character. Boiri is the enemy. Now, when you say enemy, first we sing a song, that I dig a pond. I dig a pond because I was influenced by the 6 enemies of my own mind. 6 enemies of our own mind. Who they are, these 6 enemies? Kama, the unwanted hankerings. Krodha, the uncontrolled anger. Lobha, uncontrolled greed. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, wrongful attachment to the things which is not good for me. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, and then Moha, Mod. Mod is the pride, vain pride, futile pride, and Matsarja. Not to nurture and nourish malicious feelings towards fellow devotees, fellow people. So these are the biggest enemies of our own mind. It's not outside, it's already residing at our own mind. So these are the things, and then we have outside also. Outside, that everybody is a human being, God dwelling each and everybody. Everybody is a God child of the Lord, but everybody cannot be your friend. The company of every human being may not be good for you because everybody has their own taste. God created this garden in such a way that everybody has their individual taste. The taste you are trying to develop in you, the path you choose, the road you following or walking, the road you are walking, you might have to walk alone. Tagore, one of the Nobel laureate of India, one of the most known poet of India, he wrote, if there is nobody with you, walk alone. Walk alone. Because the path we choose, that we know that in this fragile world, look at the present situation, how people are in the United States alone, more than 100,000 people died. They were like us. They had family, they had job, they had good health, they had everything. Within 3 months, they all gone. We are lucky that we're still sitting and listening to this beautiful scripture, Narad Bhakti Sutra. We thank God for at least we are still surviving. So we know now that our power, our intellect, our university degree, our fortune is unable to give us protection because it's a kind of enemy we are attacked now. We cannot see invisible enemy. There's no kind of the weapon can give you protection right now. So the only protection we can use, the main weapon, that is the blessings of the God. That is the blessings of the God. That is the only weapon you can use to protect from this invisible enemy, that virus going on all around the world. The prayer, our love to the lotus feet of the Lord, our faith, solid, unbroken faith to the feet of the Lord, that blessings surely will give us protection. That 100% sure. I can assure you that as a monk. So we should not listen the Boiri Charitram, the character and the description of the enemy, or those who do not believe in the existence of God, those who do not have faith in the Lord, those who do not want to listen the words of Bhagavad Gita or Vedas or any kind of religious books, and or any kind of wonders of the Lord. So that is why Narad say not to listen the Boiri Charitram, the character of the enemies, no Srovaniam. So for a devotee who is looking for a devotee who is trying to improve his spiritual life, who is walking at the path of spirituality, who is trying to build up a eternal, unbroken relation with the Supreme, who is feeling the touch of divinity, he should avoid these things which Narad say here. Stri dhano nastiko boiri charitram na srovaniam. One should not listen. So these hopefully I'm clear to this particular, because I was thinking a lot how to present properly this particular sloka. We all understand that. We all understand, we know that why Saint Narad mentioned these things in the book. We all understand that. But sometimes we are being, kind of that we also fall under the, the dominance of all this enemy of our own mind. So that is why a true devotee of the Lord should not listen these things, Tri Dhana, Nastika, Boiri, Charitram, no Srovaniam. It's been clearly said. If you see the verse number or Sutra number 63 of the Narad Bhakti Sutra is there. We're going to the Sutra number 64. 64 Sutra of Narad Bhakti Sutra. Obhimano Dambhadikam Tyajyam. Obhimana dambhadikam tyajyam. Egoism and other vices, these kind of things should be given up permanently. Obhiman. Mat kare tu obhiman re bande. Mat kare tu obhiman. Mat kare tu obhiman re bande. Mate kare tu obhiman. It's a very popular Hindi song. Mat kar tu obhiman. Do not show your pride, oh my friend. Please do not do that. In the temple of God, in a place, the place of worship, we bend our head in front of that Almighty Lord, all-powerful Lord. We all seek His blessings. Think of the Ravana. Because of his pride, he destroyed that golden Lanka. It's the story of the epic Ramayana. That Ravana was a devotee of Lord Shiva. But because with his spiritual practices, he even conquered death. And he had a kingdom, golden kingdom of Lanka. But only one bad quality, that is Abhiman. that Abhiman that destroyed the whole, his family, his kingdom, he himself fell down. So dambhadikam, abhimana dambhadikam tajyam. Abhiman, we do that. We know what is that. We are proud. We are proud sometimes. Let me give you an example. I was visiting India, and also I'll give an example from the African countries also, because I was in the Uganda. So let me give you an example of the India first. Even in United States, if you go to the Trenton area, you will feel that way. We went to a place called Dumka in the state of Jharkhand. So Dumka is a place the forest people live mostly. I mean, they have very little opportunity to go to the school, higher education, and you could see the color, physical color is dark because of their skin burned to because of the sunlight. The women, they work in the field, plant the rice plant. They helped their husband, their father for plantation. And we use the word called Adivashi. Usually these are forest people. And just imagine, I went from New Jersey to all the way to the Dumka, went to the village to see how people live there. And we see how Indian people are rich and they are highly educated people here. Anybody I talk, they have minimum master degree. But when I went to the Dumka, I see another picture of India, just opposite. I mean, you could see the women standing on the roadside with the baby at her lap. You could see the bones, collar bones, the bone in the throat because of lack of the right food. And you could see the babies like a skeleton. And so thoughts was going in my mind. And the people living in the rich world, they don't know how people, what kind of difficulties people go through in day-to-day life. And also I was visiting some part of the South Africa and Uganda and Kenya also. And I could see, I went to a school to distribute some pencil and books in Kenya, far from the Nairobi city, around 100 miles deep inside. Somebody says, Swamiji, let's go to a school to distribute some pencil, notebooks, and storybooks to the school children. And it was such a wonderful. So imagine from Nairobi, we traveling to almost more than 100 miles. We went to deep in the forest area, a primary school, and I could see those little children and the people looking at us, because you could imagine those. We went in this dress, like a monk dress. They never saw it. And they're mostly, they practice Christianity beyond their own things in the faith. So the little story book, little pencil or little chocolate, it was kind of great gift to their life. They love it. They enjoy it so much by getting that little thing from us. So if you can share our wealth in this way, in the right place, Anand, happiness, joy, the joy and happiness people get by giving things to other people, the joy and the happiness you earn, that is beyond of your word or description. I'm sure everybody understands that when you give something to your little brother or little fellow citizen, okay, take it. You like it, take it. A little cloth or little gift, by giving we feel joy. But then if we can give these books, storybooks, pencil, notebooks, if you clothe to the children, and they are so joyful. Another example, that somebody gave me $400 here. Well, Swamiji, use this money how you want to use in India. So she gave me $400. So I went to, you hear the Jammu Kashmir occasionally with the stories of Jammu and Kashmir. So I went to Jammu. We have a center in Jammu. And I tell the Swamiji, you know, that Swamiji, I have, and I added $100 more. I say, Swamiji, so I counted the Indian money. Okay, I have this 30,000 Indian rupees. So Swamiji, I want to give something to the local children, school children. Can you arrange? The local Swamiji, Swami Sattva Mitrananda, he planned it. He said, okay, we'll give the school bag with keeping some books, pencil, and geometry box, and all those things inside. We'll give to the school children. So he sent news around the schools, you know, in that village area, wherever schools, and we give a particular date. So we buy, you know, maybe 140 school bags or something, whatever the money I gave. So we distributed, the local police officer came, we took picture, this, that. But now, the second day, I will tell you the joy. We went to the Jambu market, coming back by a jeep. And we see our school bag, the school children walking on the mud road of the Jambu. They going to the school by walking with that same school bag. Could you imagine how we feel so much joy? And I could see they are holding their bag. But the other sad side is now the news spread all over that Swamiji came and they giving the school bag. Now the parent bringing their children to our ashram, Swamiji, my daughter or my son did not get the bag. But that time our stock finished, you know, we are planning to come out of the Jambu, go to the Delhi. And they keep coming, you know, because news going all around. So all I mean to say, by giving, renunciation, sacrifice bring great joy. And that is pure joy. And here, what we talking? Obhiman. So, Obhiman Tajyam. We need to give up our Obhiman. Make sure by charity, by donation, by contribution, make sure we don't develop any Obhiman, the kind of pride in our mind. By giving a donation to some good causes, we should not allow any kind of Abhiman or pride to our mind. We should not allow pride because I am highly qualified, I have the Princeton University degree or so, or I build up my great fortune by working very hard. But make sure this Abhiman do not penetrate in your mind. That will be destroying the beauty. It will make your eyes blind. Ultimately, a day will come, you may feel that you are all alone. So we have to be very careful. The humbleness. The highly qualified person is most humble person in this world. Vidya dadati vinayam. Vidya, the education, make people more humble. Vidya dadati vinayam. Vidya is the education, learning, and dadati is that give. Vinayam is humility, humbleness. It teaches how to be humble, because we're getting opportunity to give something, and because that's how we helping ourselves, uplifting our own soul. Because God dwelling in front of us in different forms, in different ways. So, Abhimano, Dambho is more destructive. Dambho is you are blind because of you become so much proud of your quality, you become completely blind. You insulting other people, respected people in the society, because you such a way that your eyes is being blinded, illusion such a way, you become your wisdom all is being gone because of your the quality or wealth or something else you earn, and that make you completely blind. You insulting your own people, you insulting the respected person, you insulting the persons who are worthy of worship in the society. It's not the, and those people can see that you are not in the right path. But they cannot tell you because of your power, your strength in the body, or your fortune, or your education. Something is stopping you to open the door of love for you. So that is why Saint Narad say, Obhimano dambho adikam tajyam. Make sure that is why in the spiritual world, we say viveka and vichara. It's very important. Discrimination and dispassion. Viveka and vichara. One day, we'll be starting a new book that is Viveka Chudamani, written by Adi Shankaraji. Maybe sometimes we'll be starting that book also. So Viveka and Vichara, discrimination and dispassion, these two help us to be free from this kind of abhiman and the pride and kind of I-ness, my-ness, all the rajaguna which make us blind. So we'll be able to overcome this, subdue it. Make sure my quality, it happened, in the spiritual, even we monk also are being affected by this quality. Sometimes if you as a devotee came for satsang, you came to temple to do some spiritual because you live outside world, you mixing with the people who is always talking of the money. Now you came to the ashram or temple not to discuss those things again. You came to listen some good thing about the God. But when you come to the ashram, if you go to the temple, if you again the same discussion, so you feel like you came to a wrong place. Because your mind was hungry to get some kind of spiritual food. And you're not getting that in the temple or the spiritual or the religious places. So you feel like that I should not come here, or I did a wrong step by coming here. So that make sure that when your mind is hungry for spiritual food, we get that. And that spiritual food, the books, religious books, the singing, the religious song, or religious discourse, these are the spiritual food. So make sure these things do not penetrate in our mind, that abhimana, dambho, these two biggest enemy, they don't penetrate in our mind. We're going to the sutra number 65 of Narad Bhakti Sutra. Tadarpita akhilacharaha san kamaha krodhaha abhimanadi tasmineva karaniyam. It's very beautiful. Tadarpita akhilachara san kamaha krodhaha abhimanadi tasmin eva karaniyam. Having once dedicated all activities to God, the devotee should show his desire, anger, egoism, all these things to him only. It's a very beautiful sutra, you'll enjoy it. Tadarpita akhilacharaha san kama krodhaha abhimanadi tasmin eva karaniyam. Means a devotee should show his anger, his greed, or egoism whatsoever to God. One example. I'm not mentioning the name here. I was in Delhi. So it was the election time. After the election, a candidate, he's supposed to be a high-ranking, the government kind of person. He's supposed to be a minister also, important minister of the late Indira Gandhi, that ministry. So when the election result came, so that person lost the election. So his wife, she was a great Ma Kali devotee. She prayed so much to Ma Kali to make sure her husband win the election. But then unfortunately, that her husband lost the election, and she get angry now. She went to at her altar inside the room and took the Mother Kali picture and threw the picture outside in the garden. Because, she was so hard. She said, I pray so much. I did fasting and pray so much, and then my husband lost. But then next morning, the Indira Gandhi gave a phone call to their home. So asking that where is her husband, she picked up the phone, and it was Mr. Gandhi's phone voice. So where is he? But because that I selected him as the finance minister of my cabinet, oh, she was so joyful. She ran to the garden again, picked up the Makali picture, crying, "Oh ma, please forgive me," bowing the picture, touching the picture on his head. So I bring this story that she's showing her anger to Makali. And then again, she's showing her love to Makali. So here Narad say a devotee should show his kama, krodha, abhimanaha, whatsoever towards the God. How? Say for example, we have beautiful temple at the Bharat Sevashram, New Jersey. If you come to a temple, beautiful images of gods and goddesses are there with beautiful clothes and decoration. I mean, every murti you see, every image you see, every the Bhagavan you see at our temple, you feel they're so lively. Now, see, you have a desire, and that you praying to Radha Krishna that this thing should be fulfilled, and it did not fulfill your desire. So you came to the temple and you cursing Radha Krishna that, oh Lord, I pray so much and you did not fulfill my desire. So a devotee should show his anger, abhiman, or whatsoever to God, because his relation only with God. And there's so much stories as like that. There's another example. A Swamiji was working that time all the way to Lahore. The Lahore, that time, the India was not divided. So Lahore was in Punjab. And right now, Lahore is in Pakistan. But I'm telling the story before 1947, when Lahore was part of India. So his mind was so hungry to come to the Guruji because he did not see long time Guruji. He traveled 3 days and 3 nights of the train journey all the way Lahore to Calcutta, the Howrah railway station in Calcutta. And then from there, he took a train to boat to steamer to reach to all the way to Bajitpur village. It took almost 4 days and 4 nights to reach. Now, Guruji, that a devotee came all the way traveling so far. And Guruji is there, he was present there with his, he could see his picture with thick curly hair, big body, wrapped with saffron cloth, look like a living Shiva, spotless character. I mean, the sanctifying the soil of Bajitpur, the holy land Bajitpur, his movement is there, his footstep is there. So Guruji show his love to his disciple. And then finally Guruji say, that a disciple and a guru, relation is different. The distance is not a barrier. A disciple could be thousands and thousands of miles away from his master, from his guru. But Guru's blessing, but if he can think of his guru always, and his guru will be with him always. And he promised that, Guruji. So same thing coming to the Narad Bhakti Sutra, that we show, a devotee should show his anger, his whatsoever, abhiman, that his ego to the God only. Because, why? Because he loved God. Because his relation with the God, his friendship with the God, his eternal friendship with the God. I could take you to Vrindavan, where Lord Krishna, kind of doing his childhood, all those sports, divine sports, which we call Leela, almost 80 miles of area. Krishna, he steal butter from people's home. And he break their pots, milk pot, and also give to the monkeys, to the bird. And people get so angry, they take the stick to hit Krishna. They came to the home of the Maharaj Nanda and complaining to Mother Jashoda that you don't have milk and butter to your home. Why didn't you ask us so we could give you? Why your son go and come to our home and steal and destroy, break our milk pot and giving to the monkeys and all these things, naughty things? So Mother Jashoda was so angry. He tried to bind Krishna and keep him inside. Then Krishna couple of days he did not do all those naughty thing anymore. Now the people missing him, that why they keep looking while they milking the cow, keep looking at the road, why they don't see Krishna again. So you could see their separation from Krishna is like dead to them. They build up a kind of inseparable relation with Krishna. So devotees, that is the example of every religion, every faith, that we need to build up our unbroken, solid faith, friendship with the Lord. No matter how we worship, no matter which direction we put our face, no matter which way we imagine our Lord, as a father or as a mother, as a friend or nothing, or image or no image, our word might be different, our ways might be different, but is the same thing. Our prayer going to the same lotus feet of the Supreme. One God, one religion. Ways are different, words are different. That some putting their face towards north, some putting their face towards south, some putting their face to the west. The God do not live in particular one direction. God is everywhere, every corner in this world. The bird chirping His name, the trees, giving flower for Him, river giving water to sheep to wash His feet, the sky, the sun giving light, moon giving moonlight, the planet Earth giving so much eatable things. Everything, everywhere His presence is there. Wherever we ourselves is the very part and parcel of that wonderful Lord. So our abhiman, our anger, our greed, our temptation, our egotism, everything should be related to God. And these are sinless. One thing because previously we say abhimano dambhadikam tajyam. That abhiman and dambho destroy ourselves. But here in this particular sutra, this kama, krodha, abhimana with the Lord is sattika, because we crying to the Lord, we doing anger to the Lord, and again we start throwing ourselves at the feet of the Lord. So we have a different relation with the Lord. We go to the sutra number, let me see, yes, sutra number 66. Trirupo bhanga purvakam. Trirupo bhanga purvakam nitya dasya nitya kanta bhajanatmakam prema karja premeva karja. We went very advanced stage of the spiritual life in this particular book, the Bhakti School, which is one of the prominent spiritual path to reach God, because bhakti or devotion is the highest form of way to reach God. Bhakti do not listen the word of kind of what we call argument or logic. Bhakti is like it can break the barrier, all barrier, and rush to meet His most lovable God. So it's like a flood coming. Bhakti is like unstoppable flood water. You cannot stop it. It's rushing towards to meet the lover, the Lord Sri Krishna, or the God and goddesses, whomsoever you love. So it's a completely different subject, because Vedanta will have logic, Vedanta will have argument. You have opportunity to bring question in Vedanta, but Bhakti school is completely different. It is so much of example I see we living a monastic life. I see in the ashram that I see in the Calcutta headquarters one day in the evening time, I see one Swamiji. He was the head of the food department. And then I see he was doing his job evening time, taking his mala and chanting the Guru mantra in the small temple. And I could see the tears falling out of his eyes. He's looking at the face of Guruji and crying. Because in our life, that initially we may worshiping Lord Krishna, Lord Mother Kali, or Goddess Durga, but at time come, a disciple worship his guru only. He see everything, all gods and goddesses, everything in his guru, in his spiritual master. And this completely surrender. And that's how we teach our the followers and well-wisher and those who are attached to our organization. We try to motivate that life bit by bit, that will ultimately it is guru is above of everything. Bina guru gyan kahan se pao? Without the blessings of the guru, the path, the mysterious path of spiritual life, the door of the mysterious path of spiritual world, it will not be open for us. So, बिना गुरु ज्ञान कहाँ से पाओ? त्रिरूप भंग पूर्वकम. Trirupa, to which transcends the three forms mentioned in the sutra. So, Trirupa, to break the three rupa, who they are? They are that dissolve the triple consciousness, namely the worshipper, means the person who is worshipping the Lord. That is one rupa. An object of worship. Say that I am worshipping Guruji or Mother Kali or Goddess Durga or Radha Krishna. So, worshipper, the person who is meditating or the person who is conducting the puja, an object of worship. Say, for example, Goddess Durga. And then the third one is act of worship. Means when you are worshipping, you are offering flower, garland, sweets, fruits, and other offerings with clothes, ornament to Goddess Durga. So these are the three rupa. The person who is worshipping, the object we worshipping, that is Goddess Durga, and the things we offering to God. These three piercing. So these three, it need to be completely surrendered at the feet of the God. Here, cultivate that love alone in the form of constant service to God. So Saint Narad say that kind of identity, self-identity, when we teach Vedanta, the ultimate goal of Vedanta, that you feel unity with the Supreme. You feel that you are being lost in the vast divinity, like a small river falling in Atlantic Ocean. So the ultimate goal of Vedanta, unity with the Lord. All this way they will be describing different path and argument and logic, but ultimately Vedanta will be taking you to that direction that you are being completely lost in the divinity of the Lord. You become one. It's called Advaita. No self-identity, at least in that state of life. So it's the same thing here. Like when I'm sitting to worship, just imagine, say that, for example, it is the kind of special day, say Phalharini Kali Puja, special Kali Puja day. So devotees bring fruits, vegetables, and the sweet, water, ornament. And I'm sitting at the seat to worship Mother, and in front of me, I have that beautiful Mother Kali temple. I look at the face of the goddess Kali with this long, open hairs falling on the ground, with his red tongue outside.
Look down later.
With his beautiful clothes and the ornament, look like the mother of this universe, beyond of the darkness, hiding that eternal light, that effulgent, most beautiful, most divine, the gorgeous, the source of all joy, the source of all wealth, happiness and joy, the universal mother is in front of me. So I'm meditating and invoking Ma to sit at the altar of my own heart. So here, the priest, I'm sitting at the place of the priest. I'm trying to feel the oneness with the mother. I forgot that mother and me is different. I forgot that I have to offer all these things people brought to offer mother. So the mother and the me as a priest and the things we offer, these three become one. And the people who came to attend the puja, they are also feeling that oneness. They cannot separate themselves with that universal mother. So these things are Saint Narad telling Trirupu Bhangakam, completely lost in divinity. Nitya Dasya, feel that you are the eternal servant of the Lord. Mujhe chakor rakho ji. O Lord, I am your servant. At your home, I am your eternal servant. This is called, in the spiritual world, our spiritual world, we call Dasya Bhakti. Example, best example is Hanumanji. Lord Hanumanji, we hear people using the word monkey god, but we don't use that word. People use Hanumanji. Pavan Putra Hanuman, the son of the wind god Hanumanji, also counted as Lord Shiva. People love to recite the glories of Hanumanji, which is called Hanuman Chalisa, 40 verses glorifying the strength and beauties and wonders of Hanumanji. So, Hanumanji is the best example of the Dasya Bhakti. His master was Lord Sri Rama. Lord Sri Rama say, Hanuman, Tuhu Mamo Bharata Saman, you are like my brother. But Hanuman said, no, Lord. He sat down at the feet of Lord Sri Rama, touching the feet of Lord Sri Rama, and Hanumanji telling, Hey Prabhu, no, I am your eternal servant. And those who read the Ramayana, if you did not read the Ramayana, please read it as a book. I mean, not as a religious student. If you read as a book, you will be shocked to see that for his master, what Hanumanji did. He did what is impossible to achieve in life. Just simply faith to his master, Lord Sri Rama. He did what is not possible for ordinary humans, completely impossible. And so he's the best example of the Dasya, means that I'm your servant. In monastery, there's a word we use always in the monk society. There's sometimes senior monks say, stay in the monastery like a dog stay the master home. Like, if you go to a village, you will see that there's a dog. It's not a pet dog. The way you see a pet dog in this country, you have a separate bed. Sometimes you have separate room for your dog. Sometimes dogs sleep with you at your same bed. You buying food from the shop, and if the dog is not feeling well, you're taking the dog to the doctors. When the doctor do operation to the dogs. But I'm talking the village dog. Sometimes in our many ashram, in village ashram, you see 2-3 dogs. They just dare whatever extra food they throw, they eat that. No special. They sleep on the mud, and the winter time maybe they give just a blanket food there. They sleep there. So, but when we come from, say, we went outside to do some ashram work, when we entered the ashram, those dogs, they jump of joy. Oh my God, they're jumping and jumping and jumping, showing their enthusiasm and love that their master came back to ashram. I could imagine. So there's in our monk society, we use always a word. Our senior Swami sometimes say that, stay in the ashram like how dog stay in the ashram. Means you remain at the ashram. If nobody treat you good, if you are being ignored, nobody recognize your good quality, nobody appreciating your enthusiasm, still you remain at the monastery. Banato banjai. A day will come, the big ship will reach at the shore. Remain inside the ship, the big boat. Remain. Do not jump outside, because as you jump, you fall to the endless water. So remain in the big boat. So Trirupa Bhangakam Nitya Dasya. Serve your master like an eternal servant, humble way. Nitya Kanta. Kanta is like a wife in home. What we read in the book, that is a very devoted wife, that try to give her best service to her husband. She always, the praying for her husband long life. She's, with sweat and blood, she's giving everything, all her love, all her time to bring goodness to the family. That's called Kanta. So how a wife love her husband, similarly love to your Lord also. Give that one-pointed love. One-pointed love to God. So Nitya Kanta is your eyes, your mind, your thought, your judgment, your whatsoever is all focused to one direction, to please your Lord. Nitya Kantaha. So that means surrendering completely at the feet of the God, you forgetting your own identity, the material you serving, or the God and me separate, all this you forgetting, you becoming one, and then serving your Lord like how a servant serves to her Lord, or how a wife, a dedicated wife serve her husband, the same way you worship your Lord. So that's why Saint Narad said, Tribhanga Rupo Tibhanga Rup Trirupa Bhanga Purvakam Nitya Dasya Nitya Kanta Bhajanatmakam Premo Karja Premoiva Karjam. Try to develop love. The last word is so beautiful. Premo Karya Premoiva Karyam. Try to develop love to God. Try to develop every day, every moment, bit by bit, try to develop that faultless love towards your Lord. The Bhakta Bhagavan, devotee and the Lord should not be a business relation. That God give all kind of protection to his devotees. But on the other way, devotee should not always, because I'm doing his puja, so I expect this kind of result. No, there's no business relation. I love my Lord because for the sake of love only. And I think I will be reading just one more and then I'll be completing today. This is a very beautiful verse. I'll be bringing a couple of the examples from the Upanishad also here. If you see the Sutra number 67, if you put your eyes at the book, it's writing, Bhakta ekantino mukha. Bhakta ekantino mukha. This is the last Sutra I'll be reading today. Bhakta ekantino mukha. Those who have one-pointed devotion to God for his own sake are primary. One-pointed devotion. Here, just I'm reading in a other language, but I will be bringing the example also, kind of meaning here. Here, Teri Pratima Man Mandir mein. O Lord, your image, your murti, Man Mandir mein, is dwelling at the temple of my own heart. O Lord, it is you who are sitting at my heart. तेरी प्रतिमा मन मंदिर में, तेरा स्तुति गीत अधर में है. तेरा स्तुति, your glorification, your wonder, your beauties, your greatness, your love for the mankind. तेरा स्तुति गीत means you're singing. I'm singing the song related to you. Adhar mein hai is my mouth, at my lips. So Lord, you are sitting at the altar of my heart. My lips are chanting the endless wonders and beauties, your beauties. तेरा स्तुति अधर में है. तेरा ही ध्यान विचारों में, in my thoughts, in my dream, in my sleep, in my wakefulness, तेरा ही ध्यान. I'm meditating upon your beautiful appearance. I feel you are present everywhere. तेरी माला जुग घर में है. And I'm chanting with the garland, Rudraksh beat or Tulsi beats. I'm chanting, it's your name, your sweet name I'm chanting. To Adidev, Lord, you are the Adidev, the primal deity. You are the root of this creation. To Adidev, Parameshwar hai. You are the Lord of the Lord, master of this world. You are the father of this world. So Antak Rudra, ultimately one day we all go back to you. You waiting at the cremation ground for us to take us at your big lap. Oh Lord, you are there, you dwelling at the cremation ground for us to give us the final peace. Bhayankar hai. You look like very fearful at the cremation ground. Like you there, Mahakal, dwelling at the cremation ground. तू ही रजनी में व्यक्त हुआ, O Lord, and the dark night, I feel your touch. You are everywhere is darkness in a dark night. तू ही रजनी में व्यक्त है. You in the dark night in this planet Earth, it is you who are there everywhere in this world. तू प्रकट दिवाकर में है. And the early morning, we see it is you who rising at the eastern horizon with a big sun. Sun God coming at the eastern horizon, removing all the darkness, all the impurities of this world, bringing bright daylight. Oh Lord, you are everywhere. And then I conclude this way, Teri Mohima Pag par hai. The entire world singing your glories in different language, in different words. You go to a mosque, you go to a temple, you go to a synagogue, you go to a church, you go to a Buddhist temple, anywhere, people using different language in a different way, but they all praying, they glorifying your beauties. Teri Gorima Mag par hai. And it is wonder, it is you showering your blessings by giving us family, children, stability in home, all the wonderful things to eat, wonderful clothes to wear. It's your blessings coming to us. Tu kunjo mein, tu phoolo mein. Oh Lord, you are in the garden. In the May month, if you go outside, when you come to the New Jersey ashram, the backside, I see 3 baby deer running in the backside land. Oh my God, I can see the jumping baby deer, the way they're jumping. I said, look, this ashram look like a real ancient ashram. The baby deers with the mother jumping here, there, and looking at us. So, Lord, Teri Mohima, tu kunjo mein, you are in the forest. Tu hi phoolo mein, beautiful flower coming all over in the forest. If you go, the forest flower. And I could see, I could feel your touch in those forest flower. Tu pratibhat sagar mein hai, Lord, and I could see your presence. I could feel your presence when I go to the ocean, the seaside, Atlantic Ocean, when you look at it with the waves, and I could see your vastness and your strength and vastness and beauty in the water of the ocean. So with this verse, I was thinking to bring one example from the Upanishad, these things, just I see here 5 minutes we have. So what I thought, let me bring this quickly for you. It is the Mundaka Upanishad telling. It's related to the same sutra. Mundaka Upanishad, let me read this particular the verse for you. Mundaka Upanishad 35, verse number. Dhanur grihitva Upanishadang mahastram Sharam Hupashani Itam Sandhaita Ajam Tadbhava Gatina Chetasha Lakshyam Tadevaksharam Sommo Vidhi. I read again. Dhanur Grihitva Upanishadang Mahastram Sharam Upashani Nishitam Sandhaita Ajam Tadbhava Chetasha Lakshyam Tadevaksharam Sommo Vidhi. Upanishad, knowledge, let the knowledge be your bow. Upanishad Dhanu, your knowledge, your pure knowledge be your bow. Sharam and the arrow is your mind. Shine that arrow with the upasana, with the meditation, with the job, with the glorification, with the service to the God. So your Buddhi or intellect is your bow, and your mind is the arrow. Shine the arrow with the meditation, job, glorification of the Lord, study of the sacred books. Ajammo, fix your mind to the feet of the Lord. Tadbhavagateno chetasa, and one pointed, just you can see only the Lord. Laksham tadeva aksharam saumya viddhi. The rishis of the Upanishad telling to his disciple, "Oh my son, fix your mind and hit that target." The target is the Brahman, the Supreme, the lotus feet of the Lord, the God, that Almighty Father. So devotees, I think this is enough today for, that it will be going couple of weeks more. Today we finished that up to Sutra number 67 of the Narad Bhakti Sutra. Hopefully you like it. And there was a couple of the topic a little bit kind of contradictory, but hopefully I was able to clear to you. Thank you and namaste.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Pranam Swamiji.
You're
Pranam,
welcome.
Swamiji.